Nowadays it feels like there's way too many different types of Avengers. You've got the new, you've got the young, you've got the mighty, you've got the secret, but today we're going to be talking about the Dark Avengers. Woof woof! Hey guys, it's me Marcus, aka the Mad Dog, and we're back with another video. Originally created by Brian Michael Bendis, who was pretty much the kingpin of the Avengers during the early 2000s, the Dark Avengers first formed during an era of Marvel Comics that was known as Dark Reign, which was a period where Norman Osborn was a director of S.H.I.E.L.D. because he saved the planet from the Skrulls during Secret Invasion. Tony Stark was then blamed for the Skrull invasion and meant that he was public enemy number one. This is something that you can read about during one of the greatest Iron Man series of all time, which was written by Matt Fraction. And you're probably wondering if that has something to do with the Dark Avengers, but no, it doesn't. It's just a book that deserves a lot more love. With the public's trust in the Avengers at an all-time low, the government gave Osborn the responsibility of assembling a new team, because of the fact that he was previously successful when he had to create a new team of Thunderbolts. Another team that admittedly I should probably do a video on. The world knew them as the Avengers, but Osborn had his own agenda, and he needed to recruit the right people after the majority of the existing members left when they didn't want to be associated with the former Green Goblin. First up, it's the Iron Patriot. The founder and initial leader of the Dark Avengers, as we've already mentioned, is a former Spider-Man villain Norman Osborn, having saved the world from the Skrulls during Secret Invasion, which only happened because Deadpool sent a file to him that was meant to go to Nick Fury. No, I'm being serious. He was given the position as director of S.H.I.E.L.D. as it seems like everybody in the world just forgot everything that he did when he was the Green Goblin. With a new suit that you might recognise as the one from Iron Man 3 that has a combination of Stark technology but with the colour scheme of Captain America, he assembles a new team of Avengers that's mostly comprised of villains because of the fact that most of the previous Avengers didn't want to work with him. Can't figure out why. He re-established S.H.I.E.L.D. as Hammer and even created his own sinister version of the X-Men. His powers that he had as a Green Goblin, such as speed, strength and stamina, remain, but because of the Iron Patriot costume that also comes with its own enhancements, pretty much the ones that you would expect from anybody that's using Stark tech. Next up, and an ironic recruit for Norman Osborn, but we've got Spider-Man. Nope, not your friendly neighbourhood variety, because this time it's Matt Gargan who's spinning the webs. A guy that you might know as the Spider-Man villain, the Scorpion, having previously been host to a symbiote that had gone a bit AWOL during Secret Invasion, which couldn't have come as much of a surprise considering that near enough every symbiote does that. Osborn manages to medicate it down to the same size that it would have been when Peter Parker was the host, so to the general public everybody thinks that this is the regular wall crawler. He has trouble maintaining the venom aspect of it because he was attacked by magic during one of the first missions, which means that he may have tried to eat some of his teammates on a couple of occasions. Yeah, I've been there. All the powers that he had as Scorpion remain, which again are super strength, super speed, and stamina, are enhanced by the symbiote, and because Peter Parker was a former host, he has some of his abilities as well, such as wall crawling and web generation. Now we're going to talk about Ms. Marvel, also known as Captain Marvel, and also known as Moonstone, and also known as Carla Sofan. She was a replacement for Carol Danvers after she declined to join the team, and a former psychologist whose powers come from a Kree gravity stone. Those powers include, and yep, you guessed it, it's speed, strength and stamina. She can fly, and can manipulate light in limited capacities, and I can't tell you how useful that must be. She was an original member of the Thunderbolts, so she's used to being in a deceptive team. During her time as a Dark Avenger, she flirted with both Marvel Boy and Daken, and since her time in the team, she's worked alongside Luke Cage as part of the reformed Thunderbolts. And then shortly after that, during Secret Empire, she went back to the Masters of Evil. It's almost like it's a dumb idea to trust a supervillain. After that, we've got this team's first Hawkeye. So if I asked you who's a villain in the Marvel Universe with a precise aim, there's probably going to be a couple that would come up, but in this case, it's none other than Bullseye. Yes, the longtime Daredevil villain is the Dark Avengers answer to Clint Barton, and he'd been undergoing a bit of an arc since Civil War after he'd been brought onto the Thunderbolts by Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic to hunt down heroes that hadn't signed up for the Superhero Registration Act. And then when Osborn took over, he brought Bullseye onto his version of the Thunderbolts alongside Moonstone, which pretty much guaranteed him a membership into the Dark Avengers. He was given the suit and title of Hawkeye and went on quite an adventure when he was part of this team. He was tasked with killing Deadpool, he had to fight a rogue Hulkbuster armor, and had to cover up the murder of one of his teammates' wives. However, because of the Daredevil event Shadowland, which not a lot of people talk about, Bullseye's time within the team was quite short-lived. Wolverine, or at least the son of Wolverine because it's Daken, and I'm not sure if you pronounce it Daken or Daken, but admittedly every time I say Daken it reminds me of bacon, and then I get hungry and I don't want to film anymore. Yeah, I think I need a snack. But because of the fact that Logan probably would have made a good recruit to the Dark Avengers at one point, it's no surprise to see that Daken took up the mantle when he was recruited by Norman Osborn. He's psychotic, manipulative, super intelligent and sick of living in his father's shadow. So to get out of that shadow, he decided to become his father. Not a good plan. He became a highly valuable member of the team when Osborn decided to make his own version of the X-Men, and he even got into a really good fight with Spider-Man, the real one. He's quite a fairly recent character when you think about the overall history of Marvel Comics, so if you want to see like a Who Is Daken, let me know in the comment section below. Captain Marvel, and yes, this is another character who's known by the name Captain Marvel, but he also goes by the name Marvel Boy or Nova, and you might remember him from the Who Are The Young Avengers video that I did. And his heritage is part Kree, and he had quite a valuable role during Secret Invasion, which is why Norman Osborn wanted to recruit him. Because of the fact that the planet really didn't like Skrulls, they wanted somebody that they could have confidence would kill Skrulls if they ever came back. However, his tenure was one of the shortest on the team because he wasn't aware that the other members were mostly supervillains, which was something that he only discovered after a dalliance with Ms. Marvel. But at least if them two got together, neither of them would have had to change the superhero last name. I'm not going to say too much on him because I covered him in that Young Avengers video, so I'd recommend checking that one out. And whilst I'm talking about the Young Avengers, the upcoming omnibus that collects the Alan Heinberg run is now available for pre-order from the channel sponsor Organic Price Books. So why not check out what they've got available and maybe treat yourself to a book, because let's be honest, you deserve it. And if you use code WOOFWOOF, you will get $2 off your order, and just between you and me, you can use that as many times as you like. Then we've got Ares, who's based on the Greek god of war. He was often an antagonist for Thor, which is also pretty much the position that he fills in this team of Avengers, and he often tried to wage war against Earth with his own team called the Warhawks. However, in the early 2000s, his image was changed so that he was pretty much just a god who wanted to battle, which helped during Civil War and led to him being part of the mighty Avengers. And Ares was one of the only members of that team that still transitioned into the Dark Avengers. However, he was pulled apart from the team during Siege. And now we're going to talk about the Sentry, Bob Reynolds, and where do I start with this character? First debuting in the year 2000, he was a massive focal point for Brian Michael Bendis' Avengers titles, and he sided with Iron Man during Civil War. Along with Ares, these were the only two active members of the Avengers that joined Norman when he took over the team. And in terms of abilities, it's probably just easier to tell you what he hasn't got. He's said to have the power of 1 million exploding suns, which he got from a special serum. However, there's the Void, and for every good act that the Sentry does, the Void will do an evil one. They both work within the same entity, and it's the reason why a lot of heroes and even villains don't want to work with him. Osborn tries to utilise the Void to do his own bidding, and this is me just scratching the surface. Again, this is a character that probably needs his own episode of Who Is, and if that's something that you want to see, let me know. The last character that I'm going to mention as part of the first roster is Victoria Hand, and I feel like she does deserve a mention, as she was promoted to the Deputy Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. when Hammer took over. She took the place of Maria Hill, and she was chosen because of a bullish stance on anti-terrorism, and her first task was to snitch on anybody that was still loyal to Nick Fury, Tony Stark, Captain America, or pretty much any of the good Avengers. And then she was given the even more important task of deciding what the acronym HAMMER should actually mean. She doesn't deal with any combat, but the team works because of her, so I feel like I have to mention her in this video. So that was the first roster, but the Thunderbolts title was renamed to the Dark Avengers at issue 175. This happened when the Marvel Universe entered the heroic age after the events of Siege, which meant that the original Avengers were back, along with about 5 different sub-teams, and Norman Osborn was being held prisoner at the raft. However, with the help of the Green Goblin cult and a few dodgy senators, he manages to escape and wants to see if lightning can strike twice, so he creates a second team of Dark Avengers. And I think it should have been subtitled Too Dark, Too Avengers, but I'm in the minority there. And this time they had the backing of Hammer, AIM, and Hydra, and I was thinking to myself, why not just get Roxxon on board so that you can have near enough every evil Marvel company just in one place? But with the majority of recruits being elsewhere or nowhere at all, Norman needed to run another recruitment drive. First up, we've got another Wolverine. With Daken on the run, longtime supervillain the Gorgon takes on the position of his arch nemesis when he's recruited by Hammer. Real name Tomi Shishido, he joins the team and makes plans with Madame Hydra to kill Osborn when he eventually loses control over the team, which admittedly probably should have been done immediately. He gets the costume and the adamantium claws, and he's got his own mutant ability to turn people into stone when he makes eye contact with them. So kind of similar to Medusa but with hairy arms. Next up, and the character that we were missing from the first roster, because we've got the Hulk. Scar was picked up by Norman Osborn when he was in the Savage Lands. I can't really say too much about his involvement in the team because it really was one of my favourite parts of this run, but he is the biological son of the Green Monster because he was conceived during Planet Hulk. Great event, by the way. He has abilities similar to the regular Hulk, which is why he was chosen for the team, but he's also a skilled swordsman. He's often located in the Savage Lands because it reminds him of his home planet, planet, and he's also often of help to Bruce Banner. After that, we've got yet another Ms. Marvel. The villainess known as Superior, whose real name is Dr. Deirdre Wentworth, became the leader of Hammer once Norman Osborn was taken into custody. She was then captured by the Avengers and freed by Norman Osborn, and then decided to join his team. Her powers are super strength and flight, which she got by modifying her own genetics, and can create green energy blasts by using her fists. On top of that, she is a genius at science and has a vast knowledge when it comes to martial arts. Also joining the team, we've got another edition of Hawkeye, but this time it's Barney Barton, who is the evil older brother of our regular Hawkeye, having previously been the supervillain Trickshot. And much like his vastly more famous brother, he's a skilled archer, pinpoint accurate marksman, former secret agent, and has a vast variety of trick arrows. So it was easy for him to step into the role of Hawkeye, kinda like when the less famous Hemsworth played Thor during that scene in Ragnarok. And having been mortally wounded in a battle with his brother, Barney's death is then faked in a hospital by Norman Osborn, which pretty much meant that he owed him one, so he joined the Dark Avengers. Thanks to Mockingbird, his time as a member didn't last long, but he was offered a deal for signing on with the Thunderbolts. And you'll notice that happening a lot because the Dark Avengers are pretty much just a different variation of the Thunderbolts. It's kind of like how I'm pretty much just a rip-off of other YouTube channels, but I changed my name and act a little bit differently, and I just hope that other people don't notice. Doubling up on characters once again because there is another Spider-Man in the team. And I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of this one, so if you're one of those people that likes correcting me in the comments, get ready for this one because it's Apache, who takes up the role of Spider-Man for this edition of the Dark Avengers. He was only created in 2011 and first appeared in a 5-issue miniseries called Osborn, which followed Norman as he broke out of prison and tried to regain his power. I is Chimeric, and I know that sounds like really bad grammar, but this means he's a Greek hybrid between two creatures, and in this case it's a human and a spider. And having previously been worshipped by the people of Peru, he's captured by the government and incarcerated with none other than, yes, you guessed it, Norman Osborn. And as you can probably assume, he helps him with the breakout, which leads to him being in the Dark Avengers. He has super strength, enhanced senses, can survive underwater, venomous teeth, can crawl on walls, and he has 6 arms. I feel like I should have mentioned that one first. And as you can probably guess by now, when the Dark Avengers falls apart, he's recruited by Luke Cage to be in the Thunderbolts. But unlike the first roster, this team has a Scarlet Witch. The backstory is kind of similar to that guy that we just spoke about, but Toxie, whose real name is June Covington, was introduced in the Osborn miniseries because she was arrested for conducting science experiments on unwilling subjects. This was because she wanted to test her theories on biology, but after she escaped from the prison, she also joined the Dark Avengers. And she was given a Scarlet Witch suit, but her powers such as antiseptic breath, being able to soften her bones, and excreting neurotoxins came as a result of her experiment rather than any kind of mutation. Pretty much the last main recruit to Osborn's team, we've got Thor. But because the Odin son is too righteous to work for Norman, and the fact that they've got quite a bit of history since Siege, Ragnarok is rebuilt by AIM under the orders of Osborn. And yeah, it's the same cyborg clone that was created during Civil War, so thanks for this one, Tony. His mission is to confront the new Avengers, but it's clear that it wasn't to destroy them because of the fact that the first time that he encounters them, he's nearly destroyed by Luke Cage and Wolverine. His powers are identical to the real God of Thunder, and he's even got his own version of Mjolnir, but it doesn't come with all that needing to be worthy crap because of the fact that this guy really wouldn't be. The final edition of the Dark Avengers that we're going to speak about wasn't even recruited by Norman Osborn because it's none other than the US agent. He was kind of a late and accidental addition to the Dark Avengers because John Walker is a retired former member of the Thunderbolts, and he'd even previously battled Norman Osborn during Siege. He then settled into his role as a warden of the Raft, and he was transporting a few members of the Dark Avengers after one of the defeats. However, they were teleported to an alternate version of New York where twisted versions of the superheroes that we know all have different territories within the city. With no other option, Walker works alongside the Dark Avengers and pretty much becomes the leader of them. But that was pretty much the last time that the Dark Avengers were really around, and yeah, maybe members have gone off into being in teams like the Thunderbolts, but unfortunately this team doesn't really seem to have a presence at the moment. That's why I think it's important to do videos like this to remember these teams that maybe have been a bit forgotten about, and I'm hoping that you guys have enjoyed it. It's been a while since I've read this series, so a lot of research has gone into this script, and I'm just hoping that somebody's found it useful. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, why did you get this far? If you could do me a massive favour, share this video where you can. I know that there's got to be some people that are interested in the Dark Avengers, and comment below which team or character do you want to see get a video in the future. If you want to support the channel, it is greatly appreciated. I've got a tip jar on coffee, or you can just use the code WOOFWOOF on organic price books. But until next time, whenever that may be, just make sure that you stay safe, stay reading the best books that you can find, and stay mad all you dogs. Woof woof! See you at the next video.